Good Thursday, everyone. Welcome to the Volquest.com mailbag podcast presented by our good friends at Blue Water Climate Control. Be sure and check them out online at bluewaterclimatecontrol.com for all of your HVAC needs. Check them out online or give them a call at 865-299-2290. They're going to do the right repair the right way. They're going to come take care of you. Whatever your needs are for your heating and air unit, Blue Water Climate Control will take care of it. They can take care of it. And I promise you, they'll get it done for you the right way. That's Blue Water Climate Control. With Austin Price and Rob Lewis, I'm Brent Hubbs. As expected, plenty of questions to get to in this mailbag edition of the podcast. And away we go out of the gate with Iron Ball, who wants to know, who do you think will have the biggest buzz around them after the first scrimmage? Also, after seeing the first week, which true freshman are you most impressed with? And who has a chance to see a meaningful role on this team? No hedging bets with a JUCO like Byron Young. Bonus for AP update on, I'm going to say it wrong. Is it Elick? Elick. And a time frame there. Let's go with the bonus question, Austin. What's the latest there?
Still Tennessee, Stanford. Tennessee's done a really good job of presenting him with things, whether it be, what his major is going to be, which is dentistry, making sure that, they know how to sell the academic side of things. He's talked to people, in the world of recruiting that have been recruited by both schools. And I still think it's way too close to call. He's never really sat down to formally kind of work towards a decision. So I still think it's really up in the air. Expected decision sometime before the 20th. And, here we are sitting here on, the 12th. So 8 days from now, it just feels like the 20th is a good number for them to kind of come to a decision. Maybe it goes longer than that, but that's kind of where I'm at time frame wise. And that's not a date he's told me. It's just a date I'm just kind of, making up out of thin air just because I know he wants to do something right before his senior season starts. And I know that's on the cusp.
All right, Rob, freshman, who you like?
Man, I don't know that anybody's going to really have I think Walker Merrill's going to play, but I wouldn't say like he's the guy that's impressed me the most, but I think he's going to work his way into the rotation. I know your guy. I like Jalen Wright. I like the explosion that you see from that kid, the way he picks him up and puts him down. I'll be surprised if he doesn't end up outplaying his ranking. And I know you said this before, and I agree. I think this offense is a really good fit for him, for his skill set.
AP, who you got?
Yeah, we're talking just scrimmage, right? Or are we talking about the season?
No, it's talking about after the first week, which true freshman are you most impressed with?
It's easy to say Jalen Wright, but you saw him in the spring. I'll go defensive side of the ball. I just think Christian Charles looks like $1 million. If he plays the way he looks, then Tennessee's set up really well at safety. And then outside of that, I do think there's a handful of guys at Walker Merrill, if he can stay healthy, is a guy that I think can produce. Deshaun Rucker, because of speed, I think can produce on special teams and on the defensive side of the ball. But I go Christian Charles defense, and then I think Jalen Wright's kind of that slam dunk guy on offense, just because he's going to be in that three-man rotation with Jabari Small and Tyon Evans.
I'll tell you a guy who I don't think he's going to make a major impact right now, but a guy who's a better football player than I thought he was going to be when he first when he got here, based on our visit with him and where he was at that point, is Julian Nixon. And I don't know what he's going to become long-term for Tennessee, but I think he looks the part better than I expected him to look the part. All right, who's going to be the buzz guy coming out of the scrimmage in a few hours?
It's going to be a quarterback. You don't know which one.
I'm going to go Tyon Evans.
That's your guy, AP. That's your guy.
Yeah, I think that I'm gonna be interested to see how committed people are to talking about the quarterbacks, or if the quarterback the answer at quarterback to everybody you talk to is, well, they some of them did some good things and they all had their moments and they all did, or if there's going to be somebody's like, wow, he really did something. I think there's going to be a lot of couching of things coming out of there.
Publicly, for sure. I don't expect there to be any, admission that one guy was better than another from Josh Heupel or offensive staff member. But AP will have something this time by Thursday evening. He'll know which way the wind's blowing.
Well, I mean, it's a huge day for a quarterback, for somebody. I mean, it is truly moving day for a quarterback, because here's the opportunity. We'll see who can go out and execute it and perform the way that they need to. I think a couple of those young receivers are going to make plays, and I wouldn't be surprised if you hear a little buzz about Brandon Turnage as well at the corner position, being able to make some plays. So. Hopefully we'll get some nuggets from some people and from our talking to folks and everything that we can do throughout the day today, and bring you as much as we can following the scrimmage. Of course, Josh Heupel will meet the media as soon as the scrimmage is over. Are there any negatives to increased media availability of the football program? I say no, but I'm a media guy.
Coaches, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're seeing no more football. I don't count the first 2 days. Where we got 8 periods. We're seeing no more football on a day in, day out basis that we saw under Butch Jones or Jeremy Pruitt. But what we are doing is we're getting more access to kids and coaches. Again, I said this on the podcast on Tuesday. Josh Heupel will speak later this morning after the scrimmage. It will be a full week since he last spoke, and nobody's batted an eye about it because there's so many. I mean, I think Tennessee's had 28 players talk in the last week. 28. Let that resonate. 28 plus all these assistant coaches. So that's where the difference lies. And that's why you feel like you know this team a little bit more. And I think the fans feel like, hey, I can get behind Caleb Tremblay when he's talking about Dollywood and riding the wooden roller coaster at Dollywood. I can get behind Jimmy Callaway when he's getting googly-eyed about Joe Milton. I can get behind player X when they relate to them, much like they did with peanut butter and jelly on the basketball team. They just like the kids. So that's where, to me, you get to know kids. I think that's where the access is way better, and that's where you notice it.
I certainly don't see a downside at all.
No, I mean, I don't think there's anything. And again, I think you get a better feel for the football team because of the number of people that you talk to. And because of the number of coaches that you've spoken with. I think it's easier to get an understanding of a specific position, offensively or defensively, if you get to talk to an assistant coach. Not that they're giving you, all the trade secrets or anything like that, but at least you get an idea of what they're thinking about some individuals, based on guys that they're spending the most time with. So I'm a big fan of the assistant coach.
I mean, today, perfect example. After Wednesday, it was abundantly clear that they're expecting something from Jimmy Callaway, the way Cody Burns talked about him. And that's not to say Josh Heupel wouldn't mention him, but he wouldn't have the same, detailed knowledge of what Callaway is doing to impress. And that was probably my biggest takeaway from Cody Burns on Wednesday was that, hey, Jimmy Callaway's showing up.
Yep. I don't disagree with that one. All right, let's go on to the next question here. I like this question. Which quarterback does the team gravitate to? Which one has the one that has the pulse of the team? And then a bonus question for you, Rob Lewis: which warm-up drill can you get more out of? Routes on air or a pregame shoot around in basketball? Let's go with the bonus question first. What do you learn more? Do you learn more in a pregame shoot around or in routes versus air?
I would say routes versus air for sure. I mean, you might learn if a guy can shoot with nobody guarding him and what his range is. But I mean, you get to watch guys run routes. You can judge arm strength, accuracy. I mean, not that either one of them are a great measuring stick, but I'll go with routes on it.
What do you learn more from, Brent? Routes or a pregame shooting warm up or a pregame kicking warm up for a kicker?
That's a great question. I don't know that you learn, but here's the thing about both of those. I've seen punters and warm-ups boom the ball out of the stadium and then can't kick it when the game's, when the game started. I've seen guys in pregame warm-ups in basketball make 7 or 8 threes in a row, and they go to that same spot about 45 minutes later, Rob, and it's Clank City, seemingly,
This is not related. It's too good of a story not to pass along. I just remembered it when you said that about the punters, and you probably heard this one too. But Dustin Kolk, who has obviously made millions of dollars and had a great career. But his first year at UT, like you said, he was booming and booming, and Coach Fulmer would kind of get close. And, the story goes he's shaking him, he's popping him up, and after a few days of this in preseason, Philip, Dustin, what's the problem? He's like, Coach, I just get nervous when you're around. And Philip was like, well, you're going to have to work through it because I plan on being at every game this fall.
It's a great story. The closer he got, the more nervous Kolk got, and that's exactly, you're right. I'd forgotten about that story. That is a good story. By the way, Coach Fulmer at practice on Wednesday, taking in his first Josh Heupel practice on Wednesday, just hanging out for a few minutes, seeing some people, and watching and seeing what this team looks like, saying hello to Josh Heupel. So
did he have that look in his eye, Hubbard?
I don't know about that. I didn't see him, but he was on the practice field for a few minutes.
Nothing's really changed. He waits till the media leaves to go out.
That's true. All right, which quarterback does this team gravitate to? Do we have any idea, Austin Price?
I'm not even touching that with a 10-foot pole because honestly, man, the board's made me I don't even care about this stupid position. Just give me the September 2nd, whoever they trot out there. Like, it's like the mask debate at the Knox County School Board meeting. Like, you're going to make half the people on the board mad if you say one guy, you'll make the other half mad if you say somebody else. Look, at the end of the day, Tennessee just wants to trot out a guy that they can believe in. And I really think that the team believes in all three guys. Like, I think if they rolled out any of those guys, that the team would rally behind them, be fully behind them. And that's an honest answer. Who do they gravitate the most? I don't know. I just know that, there's nobody out of those three where I think the team goes, God, I hope he doesn't win the job. Like, I just think that they're all kind of, like, hey, they each kind of bring a little something different to the table. Let's just pick somebody and roll. I mean, half the team didn't even know Maurer wasn't even out there on Wednesday. I mean, that's how much they're in tune with their own individual job.
I mean, I don't think any of those kids have a personality that, is a turnoff to a teammate. Do you? I mean, they all seem like engaging, kind of fun to be around, positive energy dudes.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, I think all those guys have, good personalities. I don't think any of them are not engaging. I think, we talk about this being a big day today in the scrimmage for the quarterbacks with the coaches. I think it's a big day for those guys with their teammates, because I think this is where you do start to see somebody gravitate towards somebody, because it's not routes versus air, right? I mean, if you're a receiver in the summertime, you're looking for any quarterback who'll throw you a ball. You know what I'm saying? Same for a quarterback. Quarterback's looking for any receiver to throw a ball to. When you get in a scrimmage setting, now you start to figure out a little bit more who can handle things. So I think it's big for the quarterbacks in terms of continue to earn trust for their receivers and with their teammates, as well as earning trust with the coaches today. So we'll see what happens today, and we'll see what happens next Tuesday, and how close Tennessee can be to making a decision on who the starting quarterback is going to be. And, that'll be based on the performance of those two scrimmages. And I think those two scrimmage performances will determine who these guys gravitate to the most. We've now heard from Cade and Dane that Young is one of the toughest guys on the team to block. Does he lead the team in sacks and or tackles this season? Over under 7.5 sacks on the year for Young. Look, I think the kid's got unlimited. I mean, I'm with you, Rob. I think the ceiling's really, really high for him. I really do. Is he going to come out and just dominate series upon series of play? I don't know about that. I mean, I think he's going to have some moments. I think he'll have some growing pains along the way. But I do think Tennessee's found a guy who's going to help them a good bit this season. And if you're probably hedging a bet, I would say he probably would lead the team in sacks this year, unless they get a bunch from the linebacker position where they're blitzing. I don't know what that number is, but if you said at the end of the year he was your leading sack guy, I would say that makes the most sense.
I feel like, Rob, that he's most likely to have like that Darrell Taylor 2019 or 2018, whatever season that was, where he had like 7 sacks in 2 games. Like, like he has like these monster games and then maybe disappears for a game or two, just because he's still figuring it out. I mean, the kid's just not played a whole lot of football. I mean, like, how much can you really expect him to come out there and do? But he does have enough upside to where if he kind of has one of those moments where he kind of gets hot in the game and is beating his man and starts getting in that tackle's head a little bit, where he could have some success in a flurry.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I could see him like having a two-sack game, a three-sack game, but I'll go under just because 7.5 sacks led the SEC last year. And that, it was 10 games, so 2 fewer than they're going to play. But I don't know that Byron Young is going to come in and in 12 games, beat top what was the leading sack guy in the conference last year. And in Daryl's final year, I think he had 8.5 maybe.
Yeah, I think that may be right, something like that.
So
I didn't realize 7.5 led the league last year. It's a good stat. All right, rapid fire here, Austin Price. Here are your answers. Lead, real shot, dark horse on the following recruits. You ready? You get your 3 to pick from. Lead, real shot, dark horse. You ready, Austin Price?
Yes.
All right. Marquez Garcia.
I go dark horse.
Andre Stewart.
What was the second option? Lead.
Real shot, dark horse.
Real shot there. Not the leader, but real shot.
Cody Jones.
I say dark horse because I think Tennessee's laying in the weeds there.
Okay.
You can see Cody talk about Tennessee a lot. So that's why I say dark horse, because I think they're more laying in the weeds than like he's not out there talking about how he's talking to the Tennessee coaches. He's not running up here a whole lot. He still retweets everything Michigan, likes everything Michigan. But I know Tennessee has a ton of dialogue with him.
All right. 3 more. Elick. I can't get it right. So
real shot. But again, there's 50-50. I don't want to say they're the leader.
All right. Joshua Joseph.
Leader.
Quintel Jones.
I think it's going. I'm not sure. I'm not sure Tennessee's recruiting him as hard as they once were.
All right. Since this offense is so fast paced, a lot of times I imagine that the plays are a lot more simple, less complicated routes for receivers, maybe one side of the field reads for the quarterbacks, less crisp routes for receivers due to speed. Will this be a hindrance to quarterbacks, running backs, receivers grasping NFL playbooks and being prepared for the next level? Will this hurt recruiting down the road? My answer to that is no. I don't think so. Drew Lock's still in the NFL. There's some Missouri receivers in the NFL. There's some Oklahoma receivers in the NFL who all played a part of this system. So I don't think anybody looks at this and goes, boy, those guys are just not very good, very polished football players because they played in Josh Heupel's system. I don't see that being the case at all based on his track record of where he's been and what he has gotten done.
Before you go any further, Rob, is it just me? This mailbag podcast just doesn't have the same flavor now that since Hubs is not going and reading the handles. He's not saying who asked the question. He just is going to the next question. I need to hear if this was Cajun and 3 or Navy for guy 44 or whoever. Come on, Hubbard.
All right, this was JKOELSCH 30. You pronounce that one, genius. Go for it. Go for it. You ready? Let's do it. JKOELSCH 30. Go.
Jacob Eichholz. Jay Eichholz.
Thank you very much. All right.
Jay Eichholz 30. I'm not even looking at it. I'm just
Brooks 1972 wants to know which transfer in will have the biggest impact, which transfer out's the biggest loss for the Vols, and does Javonte Payton not have a muffler on his vehicle?
Javonte Payton's been a star of camp so far, hasn't he?
That car's been the star of camp.
Well, it's the daily running joke. Okay. I keep telling everyone he's got someone that's in the fourth window of the athletic dorms that is saying, okay, go. And then he drives right by right when an interview is going on. And he's like,
it's a lot louder than that. All right, here we go.
Sound effects are free here on the podcast.
I'm going to ask these other questions this way. Bigger loss for Tennessee transfer wise. Henry T, Eric Gray, Keyshawn Lawrence.
I would go Gray, Lawrence, Henry T in that order.
I would have gone. I mean, because of what they had at running back, I would have put Lawrence up top. But that's also based on the way Henry T played last year, as opposed to the way he played as a freshman. If he transfers out as a freshman, I consider that the bigger loss than Keyshawn Lawrence. But combine, I just don't. I mean, Tennessee's got some guys that have played a lot of football in the secondary, but they don't have anybody I think that's very dynamic.
All right, which transfer in will make the biggest impact? I'm going to go Mitchell, just because. I mean, they didn't have any depth at linebacker until he got here. So I'm going with Juwan Mitchell.
Joe Milton.
Joe Milton. Is that a hint from Austin Price? What does he mean? What does it mean?
Listen, well, I've been on the record saying I think that right now it's Joe Milton or Hendon Hooker's job with Harrison Bailey, not out of it, but down the pecking order. Either one of those, they've got to hit a core. So taking the quarterback's the easy way out, because like if they hit on them, then that means then Tennessee's had some success on offense.
All right. Vol for Life 37643 wants to know the real question: how does special teams look, kickers, punters, and who did you see being the return specialist? All right,
no clue. We don't see kickers and punters,
but they're settled there. I mean, Paxton Brooks is going to be their punter, and I think we all believe that Chase McGrath is going to be their kicker. Who do you like to audition as candidates for the return job, Rob?
I mean, don't you think Velas Jones is a shoe-in
at kick return?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who's the punt returner?
I don't know. I think they got a lot of candidates.
I was them. They're down on scholarships. I'd sneak Evan Berry back out there.
Are they going to put a freshman out there? I think that that'll be interesting to see.
Does Jalen Wright have that kind of skill set?
Return punts?
Yeah, I
don't know.
I see him. Either of the Jimmies. I think either of the Jimmies would be interesting candidates. They both seem like some guys with some wiggle.
It's whoever can do the fart in a skillet thing is going to win that job, whoever that is, apparently. But I mean, I think they have a laundry list of candidates for that, but I don't think they're close to settling that one down by any means.
I talked to Joshua Josephs on the phone. I was like, I'm like, who you talk to the most on the staff? He goes, Eckler. I said, man, he's a character, isn't he? And he goes, started laughing. I said, did you hear how he described what he wants in a punt returner? And he goes, no. And I said, fart in a skillet. And he went straight Hubs. What?
What does that mean? Exactly. All right, Rob, do you 3 recruits for 2022 that Tennessee's in the best shape with basketball-wise? Any info on what led Tennessee to offer point guard for 22 while having Edwards in the class already? Staff just used him as a top-tier can't-miss guy. Chandler Jackson is a top 100 recruit from Tennessee who just got a Kansas offer, and Tennessee hasn't recruited at all, which you previously stated was because the staff was only taking Edwards at point guard. I'm just curious, trying to figure out the process over there.
And I think it's pretty simple. I mean, he's talking about the kid from New York City that just got an offer. I mean, he played his balls off in Augusta in the Peach Jam when Tennessee was there watching him play. They clearly they've known about Chandler Jackson for ages. They haven't offered him. They offered this guy based off what they saw in Augusta, and end of story. 3 guys that I, off the top of my head, I would Kassan Wallace, Johan Traor, and Brandon Miller. And with that said, I mean, Tennessee could end up not getting any of those. I mean, they're the final 2 for Wallace, in my opinion, but it's Tennessee and Kentucky. Traor hasn't really cut things down yet, but he had a monster summer. He's going to be, in my opinion, top 25, top 20 prospect. And Brandon Miller, Kentucky's in there again. Alabama's in there. Kansas is in there. Yeah, he's an in-state guy, but you're still battling some behemoths in the sport. So that would be my take on those.
And the bonus question, thoughts on Mac McClung signing with the Lakers?
Good for him.
Vol Rocker wants to know, what is the class of 23 like in state, Austin Price? Anybody that Tennessee leads for out there besides Caleb Herring?
Yeah, I think they lead for Deshaun Bishop at Carnes. I haven't spent time out there this week with him, and I've seen a couple practices now. I was out there doing something for our high school stuff in Knoxville, and then Ben will have a nice interview with him coming up, and over the weekend. He's a good-looking kid. Weighs 190 and hadn't hit a college weight room. Is just shredded, and I expect a big year out of him. I really do. So I think Tennessee's in a really good shape there. I don't know. We'll see with some of those 23 linemen. Joe Crocker's an interesting kid out of Mid-State. He's not originally from here, so the ties, that's not the same. I think they're in pretty good shape with the kid out of Chattanooga Baylor, the offensive lineman, name escapes me at this point, his dad played with, Ellerby at MTSU, and then, a couple of kids out of West Tennessee. I think Tennessee are, in pretty good shape with like a Marquest Taylor.
I like the kid that the linebacker from Lipscomb.
Spillman.
Stillman.
Yeah. They're in good shape with the Spillman brothers. One's a 23, one's a 24. Remember now, if you're a Tennessee fan and you live in the mid-state, Addison Nichols will kick off his senior season next Friday night over there at Lipscomb against Trent Dilfer and the Spillman brothers and Caleb Beasley. So it can see three guys, 2 24s, 123, and then a current Tennessee commit in Addison Nichols. That being next Friday, and you might even see me there.
AP, what about the local kids? Tommy Winton, Kendall Jackson, Tennessee going back in on them or no?
Not Kendall Jackson. I just didn't run well enough. Too stiff. Somebody will get a pretty good player. I think he'll factor somewhere in college. Tommy Winton, my advice to Tommy, and I told him this when I was out there at Catholic's practice here recently, to do something on him for our high school product in town. You didn't really play a year ago. Like, go put something on tape, go ball out those first 3 games, and then send out your film again. Because I think if he does that, you're going to see other teams come back in on him. He talks to Virginia Tech quite a bit. Tennessee's not one of those teams, but who knows where they're at. Maybe they do go back in on a guy like Tommy Winton. But again, I think it takes him really having a really nice start to his senior year for that to happen.
All right, who are the number 4 and 5 offensive tackles? Assuming Wright, Davis, and Cade are the top 3. Would a guard slide out there, or would you expect Caldwell or Perry to be there? Depth at that position worries me. I think it worries Tennessee a little bit. I don't think, I think you're trying to piecemeal something if you are down, 2 or 3 of your top tackles. I mean, I think it's clearly those 3 are your top tackles, AP, and then there's a big drop down after that in terms of where they are.
J. Perry would be number 4 in my opinion. Number 5. I don't know. Honestly, I would probably kick Carvin out there to tackle and at right tackle and play somebody else at guard.
With the recent ruling of punishment for Baylor football, what kind of impact do you think that has on Tennessee as far as self-imposing? I think this is a great question, Rob, because I know the Baylor thing took like 6 years to get a resolution on, but I mean, they're paying them basically a $5,000 fine, right? And there's 4 years of probation for them, but there's very little punishment otherwise. So if you're Tennessee, how does that change, or does that change what your approach is with the NCAA?
I mean, is it really comparable though? I mean, Tennessee was all about impermissible benefits and recruiting, and Baylor was more about. I think Baylor's was more serious in a criminal sense, from what I know, when you're talking about sweeping sexual assault allegations under the rug. But how similar? I don't feel like the cases are very similar. I mean, I feel like Baylor should have people go to jail, but I don't know where the NCAA is the arbiter of the kind of stuff that
you're making. I mean, it's a duly noted and good point, because what came out of the ruling was they could not prove impermissible benefits, which changes it. In Tennessee's whole fabric of their violations is impermissible benefits. So you're right. There is a difference there, for sure.
Tennessee has basically thrown up their hands and admitted to what they did. I mean, the NCAA is not going to have to prove impermissible benefits.
Yeah, you're exactly right. All right, we're running out of time here. Let's get to a couple more. Have y'all heard anything about the new baseball stadium? And do you think they will be able to get new seats built in by next season? I don't see anything done next season. I don't see it getting done like that. I mean, you're going and you're still doing drawings. You got to bid that out. You got to bid out construction. You got to do everything with the state building commission. I don't see any way you're putting anything significant structure wise to that baseball stadium.
Nothing permanent in any event. Maybe something piecemeal, makeshift that they can throw together to get some more people in there, but no permanent structures.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening. All right, 2 more here. I believe that if Milton and Hooker are the top 2 quarterbacks, one real positive is that they both are legit dual threat guys. Therefore, the play calling and game planning week to week will be similar for both. If one gets injured, it seems more seamless transition if Bailey were in the top two. Obviously, you play the best player, but if Milton and Hooker are the top two, do you see that as a nice luxury to have two quality dual threat guys as the game with the game plan that you're putting in?
But is Milton really a dual threat? I think he can move once he gets going. But I mean, Dobbs was a dual threat. He was shifty and can make people miss. I just don't see that out of Milton. Again, he can run straight line, but is he shifty enough, Hubs?
I don't know. I mean,
they didn't use him that way at Michigan. Now, I don't know if that's because he can't do it or if that just wasn't the style. But he averaged, 3 yards a carry at Michigan.
Yep. We've seen him get on the edge and that turn the corner and take off. But you're right. Dobbs was a running back who could throw it.
Yeah.
It's kind of how he played in Butch's offense.
Yeah, yard.
And Hooker's not as good as Dobbs, but he's that kind of quarterback. I mean, he had 15 rushing touchdowns at Virginia Tech, and I don't remember exactly how many carries, but a lot. I mean,
Milton ought to be awesome in short yardage, though. Like on a 4th and 1 sneak.
Yeah, that was a big point of contention last year in the Michigan State game before he got hurt. Harbaugh took him off the field in like a 4th and goal or 3rd and goal situation and put in a running back to run Wildcat. I mean, to me, in that situation, you would definitely want to run Joe Milton because of his size. Mark Emmert has been quoted as questioning the enforcement role of the NCAA in the future, and yet Tennessee continues to pursue an investigation in tandem with the NCAA. If you were Danny White, what would you do? It doesn't seem smart to self-impose harsh penalties with Tennessee or the NCAA seemingly weakened by the day. And is Greg Sankey now the most powerful man in college sports? Let's take number 2 first. Is Sankey the most powerful man in sports, Rob Lewis?
He gets my vote. Especially if you're looking at it from the football angle, which I think we can all agree rules college sports because that's where the vast majority of the revenue comes from. Men's basketball is self-sufficient, but everybody else on campus depends on football dollars, and nobody is generating more football dollars than Greg Sankey.
Yep, that's no doubt. And Austin, I just don't know that Tennessee is going to hammer themselves. I mean,
If they do, I question everyone over there.
Yeah, because I think where things are right now is vastly different than where it was in February, March, April. And so I don't think they're going to hammer themselves. I don't think there's any reason to at this point.
Follow the Auburn model, circle the wagons and tell the NCAA to come on.
That's the LSU model. That's the Kansas model. That's the Arizona model.
That's
basically everybody's model.
Auburn is in the last 10, 12 years. They've had the Cam Newton theme, which was everybody's headline. It was on Splash Dollar Sports Center College Game Day. They've got Bruce Pearl's staff involved in this FBI wiretap stuff, and nothing has ever happened. Nothing.
Nope.
You know why?
In either sport.
Because each NCAA agent ended up at Pat Dye's cabin.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Auburn Tigers.
Do we have a cabin? Is there a Johnny Major cabin? We gotta get that figured out. Is there a cabin?
But it is interesting, Rob, about just in general with that. Because you have 2 schools of thought. You can say bring it on, or you can go the direction Tennessee is elected to try to go. I think if you do what Tennessee does, the NCAA should take into account, hey, they're being cooperative when everybody else is just basically telling us, don't, come on, we'll take you on. And now there's less enforcement power, it feels like, from the NCAA. So what Tennessee does from a self-imposed standpoint or doesn't do this fall, if they do anything, will be worth watching. I think Tennessee is going to do everything they can to make it as least painful on themselves as possible, particularly in light of everything that's going on. All right, last question. We're going. What did each of you do for an occupation before Volquest?
I went to college.
Young pup.
Before, when I was growing up, I worked at Clinchview Golf Course in Bean Station. Go see the lovely Keck family play a good round of golf.
Rob Lewis.
I worked at a small town newspaper and did basketball recruiting stuff for Bob Gibbons and his newsletter and website.
All right, then for me, I was in talk radio, and prior to that, I helped pay my way through college by working and in high school by working at a funeral home. And that, my friends, is a podcast of stories for a much later date and a much different genre of life, other than starting quarterback debate. So we'll leave funeral home stories out of the Volquest.com
I've always
Tuesday
thought
and
I've
mailbag
always thought
podcast.
Hubs. I've always thought Hubs could be a one of the employees there at the Haunted Mansion at Disney World. And now he tells me he worked at a funeral home.
I did. I absolutely worked at a funeral home. I worked at multiple funeral homes from the time I was 14 until I went to work full time at the radio station with Mike Keith.
You ever sleep in a coffin?
No, but there's probably a picture of me in a showroom laying in a coffin. There's probably one of those laying
We
around
gotta get
somewhere.
that. That's gotta be Alex 1118's avatar.
I tell you what, we'll do that when those young pups like Eric Kane and Ben McKee start posting their young pictures from their young days.
Listen, if you can become a friend with Eric Kane on his Facebook and just scroll back about 8 years in profile pictures, guys, it's a treasure trove for the general quarters. I've already told him. I said you got to get those off of there, because if they ever find them, you are going to be inundated.
That's going to do it for this mailbag edition of the Volquest.com podcast presented by Blue Water Climate Control. He's Austin Price, Rob Lewis. I'm Brent Hubbs. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your Thursday, everybody.